Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my podcast channel. Do hope you enjoy it. Thanks for subscribing to this one. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Hard Truth podcast channel with Alana Mercer, which is a weekly podcast. And if you do that, that'll be fantastic. Thanks ever so much for all your support. It's really appreciated. Now, I wanted to talk about the perennial topic of what's going to happen in Afghanistan, and in particular regard, what's going to happen to women in Afghanistan. Because this is obviously, the media is very focused on this, and the Taliban have clarified the situation. It's really clear. They've said women will be respected under the context of Sharia law. So the media then goes, okay, then, well, that'll be fine then, obviously, because Sharia law is Islamic law, and it's core to the beliefs of the Taliban. So question is, the media don't ask, well, what is Sharia law then? So Sharia law is fundamentally acts as both the religious moral code of Islam and holistic rules apply to all areas of life, including your religious obligations, your daily routines, the things you do, you go about in your daily life, and of your personal beliefs. It principally relies upon the teachings from the Quran and the Sunnah, and all actions are categorized. All actions you do, actually, this is amazing, are categorized as obligatory, recommended, permitted, disliked. Those are the kind of areas that Islam, Sharia law operates under. Now, there's lots of experts in terms of Sharia law that can give you much more detail than I, but the thing about it is present in many, many countries, not just Afghanistan. I mean, the Taliban exercise their variant of it, but it's, for example, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Nigeria, Pakistan, Saudi, Yemen. These countries all offer their own versions of Sharia law. It never is quite the same, but the fundamentals are pretty same. So the question is, well, okay, what does a return to strict Sharia law in Afghanistan means for women? Well, I'll sum that up in two words: the end. That's what it means. The notion that a genuine Islamic system will somehow respect women's and minorities' rights is absolute garbage. The Taliban are laughing at you when they say these things. I mean, initially, the Taliban have ended mixed gender education. So yes, women can be educated, but they'll not be educated alongside boys. Now, you might say that's a good thing. It enables both genders to concentrate better. And women will be escorted to their place of work. And they've also been told, apparently, that their male relatives could take their places in places of work. So this all fuel, and that, of course, naturally, they're required to wear the burqa. That thing which, by the way, here in the West, liberals argue for and say, oh, yeah, well, if women want to wear the burqa, that's their right. Well, under Sharia law, you have to wear the burqa, and that's the end of it. But, and the other thing is, of course, accessing healthcare also difficult for women. And obviously, previously, under Taliban rule, girls couldn't get to school. So I see that Malaha Yousafzai, who survived being shot by the Taliban back in 2012, has implored global leaders to defend the country's most vulnerable. We watch in complete shock as the Taliban takes control of Afghanistan. I'm deeply worried about women, minorities, and human rights advocates. Exactly, I could agree with you, Malala. I mean, what's going to happen to the LGBTQ plus community? What about trans rights in Afghanistan? These are the big questions. By the way, Malala, if you're so keen about it, why don't you go to Afghanistan and fight for it? Or do you just from a distance whinge? I wonder what it is. The fact of the matter is this: women under Sharia are treated like, at best, third-class citizens. And of course, there's all the other horrors that go on. We know, for example, that the barbaric practice of female genital mutilation is prevalent in southern Afghanistan, particularly as we approach the Pakistan border. But then again, it's prevalent in London, and nobody's that bothered about that. So yeah, so we'll just pass over that casually, shall we? Women face a terrible life under Sharia. That's just the simple truth of it. It is indeed a man's world under Sharia. And whilst I, you know, I believe that women and men should be treated equally, actually. I believe that. Should be afforded the same opportunities in life and the same opportunities to fail also in life. We shouldn't be putting women on a pedestal, nor should we be putting them under a pedestal. We should treat everyone equally. If anyone thinks that Sharia does that, seriously, they need some form of psychiatric help, which I cannot give, unfortunately. That's not the nature of Sharia. Sharia is all about making women into a class, a species deemed lesser than males, which I believe is wrong. However, that's what the Taliban believe. It's a core value. The left will be careful about this one because they don't want to dig too deep into Sharia. Because if you dig too deep into Sharia, the question then becomes not one of, well, what about Sharia in Afghanistan? The issue becomes, well, what about Sharia in the UK, in the US, across the West? We've allowed Sharia to flourish here in the UK. Anyone who challenges it is called a bigot, and an Islamophobe. So if we can't question embryonic Sharia, and we have had some people suggest that Sharia mightn't be too bad if it's done in the right way here in the UK. So if we're not even prepared to stand against it in our own country, what chance do the women and children in Afghanistan have? The truth is, this is a barbaric land. The truth is that the Taliban will live under strict Islamic law. It's just that simple, whether you like it or not. The notion, by the way, being cultivated at the moment is, well, no, the new Taliban are different to the old Taliban. The new Taliban are kinder, more caring. It's absolute garbage. And yet I see it being pushed out today and yesterday. Yes, the new Taliban, they've learnt their ways. All they've learnt is PR. They've learnt to speak to the camera and lie convincingly, a talent which pretty much all our politicians have as well. As somebody once famously observed, once you can fake sincerity, you've got it made. So the Taliban can fake all they want, but they are absolutely clear. Afghanistan is going full Sharia. And at that point, women's rights and minority rights end. It's just that simple.